With the launch of Destiny 2 Lightfall and several weeks into Season of Defiance, I can honestly say that the Void subclasses have really stepped up to the plate. And yes, for today's video, we're going to be utilizing a Void subclass. We're going to be turning our Warlock into an orb machine. But not only that, we're going to be abusing our abilities non-stop. So if you're looking for an endgame PvE build, this is a video for you. So subscribe for more Destiny 2 content, and let's get started with the build. Since this is a Void build, we're going to be utilizing the Void Walker subclass, and my personal favorite is the Nova Bomb Cataclysm. When it comes to taking down PvE enemies, the Cataclysm Nova Bomb does a great job. Now I will be offering up suggestions on how you can interchange some of these fragments and weapons for today's build. Now when it comes to choosing abilities, this one's simple. You want to utilize Healing Rift, Burst Glide, Pocket Singularity, and the Vortex Grenade. Now the reason we chose the Vortex Grenade is because the Vortex Grenade continuously damages enemies, thus making it a solid option for clearing out trash tier enemies. Now when it comes to choosing aspects, we want to utilize Feed the Void. This is going to give us 2 fragment slots, and when we defeat a target with a Void ability, this is going to activate Devour. While Devour is active, Final Blows restore health and extend Devour. This is the best part about this entire build, the fact that if you're on the brink of death, you're about to die, you're in a Grandmaster Nightfall, all you have to do is kill one low tier trash enemy, and just like that, you have instant 100% health. Next over, we're utilizing Child of the Old Gods. When we cast our Rift, we're creating a Void Soul, and when we target an enemy, that Void Soul is going to fly to them, dealing damage to them and weakening them. Not only that, since we are utilizing a Healing Rift, this is going to grant us grenade and melee energy. Lastly, when we defeat that target who's being drained by our Void Soul, this is going to grant us class ability energy. Now moving into our fragments, our number 1 fragment for today's build is Echo of Persistence. Void buffs applied to you have increased duration. Now those void buffs range from invisibility, overshield, and devour. And since we are utilizing the aspect Feed the Void, now when we activate Devour, that timer is increased because of Echo of Persistence. Now I did mention that there's interchangeable parts in this entire build, so I will be explaining later in the video on how you can get an overshield and get an increased timer because of Echo of Persistence. Now one of the best things about utilizing Void is seeing so many explosions. Seeing your enemies blow up is so fun, and we're gonna make those explosions even bigger. With the next fragment, Echo of Expulsion, Void ability Final Blows cause targets to explode. Next over, we have Echo of Harvest. Defeating a weakened target with a precision final blow creates an orb of power and a void breach. Now, Echo of Harvest is one of the many ways we're going to be creating tons of orbs. Since this entire build revolves around weakening enemies, we're going to be doing this a lot, thus giving us an option to create a few more orbs for ourselves and our teammates. Lastly, we have Echo of Undermining. Your void grenades weaken targets. This one is huge. Since we are weakening targets, this one piggybacks off of Echo of Harvest. Since those targets are weakened and we defeat them with precision final blows, this is going to create an orb of power and a void breach. Now we will be circling back to these fragments when we get into our second option, but for now, let's stick with what we got. Now if you're watching this video while the Season of Defiance is active, then in our artifact, we're going to have the perk Volatile Flow. Picking up an orb of power grants your void weapons volatile rounds. And since we are generating a bunch of orbs, we're always going to have volatile rounds active. But if you're watching this video after Season of Defiance, no worries. Today's build is going to focus on making all your enemies volatile. Lastly, in our seasonal artifact, we're looking at Shatter Orbs. The first time you break a combatant shield, you create an orb of power if you break the shield with the matching damage type. Meaning if we break a void shield, we're going to drop another orb of power. Yes, we're going to be dropping a ton of orbs. Now before we talk about the mods and we get into the gameplay loop, let's talk about our exotic of choice. We have none other than the Nezarec Sin. This comes with the exotic perk Abyssal Extractors. Void damage kills increase ability energy recharge rate. So you might be thinking that's a vague statement. Well, let's break it down just a little bit more. Void kills grant Abyssal Extractors for 2.5 seconds, and each time you get an additional void kill, this will increase the timer, but it does max out at 20 seconds. Now, while Abyssal Extractors is active, your grenade and melee regeneration rate is bumped up by 300%, and your class ability and your super regeneration rate is bumped up by 200%. Since this revolves around getting void weapon kills, this means we need a good void weapon to go out there and do the legwork. Our weapon of choice is none other than the Hero's Burden, and this one comes with a brand new perk, Destabilizing Rounds. Final blows cause nearby targets to become volatile. This is a great perk, especially when it comes to build crafting into void builds. really giving us that power fantasy we've been looking for. Now wait. Let me stop you there. Before you click off this video because you don't have this perk, no worries. You can get the job done with any void weapon. Just make sure it's one that you can get a ton of kills with. Now there is a second option. If you don't have a hero's burden with destabilizing rounds, it's fine. There is another perk out there that I highly recommend, and that is a void weapon with the perk Repulsor Brace. What I really like about Repulsor Brace is you have a ton of options. Not only that, you have heavy weapons with that perk as well. Now before we move any further into the build, if you're curious on which is better, Repulsor Brace or Destabilizing Rounds, I'm going to make a completely separate video detailing which is the best option for PvE. So if you're enjoying today's video and you want to see that video when it comes out, do me a favor and click that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on all notifications. Now I will be utilizing a heavy weapon with the perk Repulsor Brace, but for my main kinetic weapon, guys, it's PvE, so there's only one solid option, the Witherboard. Now before we get into the gameplay loop, let's talk about our mods. In our helmet, we have the Void Siphon mod. Rapid Void Final Blows create an orb of power. Yes, yet another way to create an orb of power. Next over, we have the mod Hands On. Gain bonus super energy on melee kills. Next over, we have Ash's Assets. Gain bonus super energy on grenade kills. As you can tell, since we are utilizing our abilities a lot, we're going to be getting a ton of super energy. Keep in mind that when we do get kills with our Void weapon, this is going to activate Void Siphon. On top of that, we're going to activate Nezarec Sin, giving us that ability regeneration. Now moving into our gauntlets, we're utilizing one firepower mod. Your grenade final blows create an orb of power. On top of that, we're utilizing one heavy-handed mod. Your powered melee final blows create an orb of power. Yes, we're going to be creating a ton of orbs of power. Why? Because of the mods we're utilizing and the fragments we chose. Lastly, I decided to utilize one momentum transfer mod. Causing damage with your grenade reduces your melee cooldown. Since we chose the Vortex grenade, we're going to be dealing a ton of damage, and this is going to give us a faster cooldown on our melee ability. Now moving into our chest piece, there's two very important mods you want to utilize, and that's Charged Up. Increases the maximum number of stacks of armor charge you can carry by 1. Since we are utilizing 2 of these, we can carry up to 4 armor charges. And since we are creating a ton of orbs, every time we pick up one of those orbs, this is going to give us an armor charge. In our final slot on our chest piece, I decided just to utilize a harmonic resistance. Moving into our leg armor, I decided to utilize stacks on stacks. Picking up an orb of power grants you 1 additional stack of armor charge, meaning when we pick up 1 orb of power, this will give us 2 armor charges. Since we can carry 4, when we pick up 2 orbs of power, we'll be fully maxed out on all our armor charges. Moving over, we're utilizing the Void Weapon Surge mod. This is going to give our Void Weapons a small bonus to damage while we have an armor charge active. And yes, this armor charge will decay over time. But since we are utilizing stacks on stacks and Charged Up, we'll have a bunch of armor charges to spare. Moving into our final armor piece, we have the Warlock Build, and we're utilizing one Time Dilation mod. Your decaying armor charge has a longer duration, meaning those 4 armor charges we have are going to last a very long time. Next over, we have 2 bomber mods. Reduce your grenade cooldown when utilizing your class ability. Before I get into the gameplay loop, if you do decide to use the perk Repulsor Brace, there's a few things you need to keep in mind. Number 1, you do need to utilize Volatile Flow. Picking up an orb of power grants your void weapons volatile rounds. Now if this is a new season and that mod is not available, I highly recommend you change the fragment Echo of Undermining or Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds to your void weapons. Now the gameplay loop is extremely simple. To start the process off, you want to get void weapon kills. By getting void weapon kills, this is going to activate Nezarec Sin's exotic perk Abyssal Extractors. By activating the perk, this is going to give you faster ability regeneration. But every time you get an additional void weapon kill, this increases the timer of Abyssal Extractors. Now if you get multiple kills with your void weapon, this is going to activate Void Siphon, generating an orb of power. When you consume that orb of power, this is going to give you an armor charge, thus activating Charged Up, stacks on stacks, Void Weapon Surge, and Time Dilation. At this time, your abilities should be fully charged, thus allowing you to utilize your melee and your grenade ability. I highly recommend you use these abilities against low tier enemies, thus generating orbs of power because you're activating the mod Firepower and Heavy Handed. And by utilizing your abilities, you're going to be activating Echo of Expulsion. Void ability final blows cause your targets to explode. But what happens if you don't destroy every enemy with your abilities? No worries. if you get a precision final blow against that weakened enemy, this is going to activate Echo Harvest, creating an orb of power and a void breach. And if you secure that final blow with a void weapon, this is going to reactivate Nezarec's Sin, giving you more ability regeneration rate. Keep in mind that when you do deal damage with your grenade, this is going to activate momentum transfer. Also, if you still want a faster grenade cooldown, you can always activate your healing rift. This is going to activate the mod Bomber, giving you a faster grenade cooldown. Now, if things are getting chaotic, there's nothing to worry about because of the aspect Feed the Void. When you defeat a target with a void ability, this is going to activate Devour. Plus, your Devour is increased because of Echo of Persistence, meaning when you activate Devour, you have plenty of time to reactivate it by killing other enemies. Now, for those of you out there utilizing the perk Repulsor Brace, not only are you reactivating Devour with each kill you get, you're also activating an overshield that lasts longer because of Echo of Persistence. If you ask me, I think Void is still the best option for PvE, especially when you have synergistic builds like today's. We have synergy between our exotic, our weapons of choice, and all of our fragments and aspects. But let me know down in the comment section, is this a build you're going to be utilizing? And if so, what's your favorite part about it? Are you someone who decided to use Destabilizing Rounds, or did you go with Repulsor Brace for that overshield? I would love to hear your opinions down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out. I really appreciate it. You have a good one, and I will see you in the next video.